So, hi, JB. Thank you so much for coming to Millennials Planning.
Thank you for having me. It is a privilege to be here.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you. It's a privilege to have you on.
Yeah.
So, you are host of the JB Show, James B. Fauntleroy, or JB Faunt on Twitter,
hmm
on the Left Network.
hmm
And you speak about a number of subjects, and your show has been just amazing. So,
Thank
you want to
you.
talk
Thank
to me a
you.
little bit about, what you've been talking about recently? And, you made a wonderful speech at the Medicare for All March. That was excellent as well. So, why don't you give me a little intro and then we'll jump off from there.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is James B. Fauntleroy, also known as JB Faunt on Twitter. I like long walks on the beach and I like reading books. And sorry, I just couldn't resist. I was just see now you guys know what I'm all about. But but yeah, I mean, I'm on the JB show on the Fred Hampton Left Network, and we talk about various different subjects. I do, I wear many different hats. I'm gay, I'm disabled, and I'm a Black guy. So I talk about things that, regard to intersectionality, but we also talk about a lot of the policies that a lot of, excuse me, we talk about a lot of what people deserve because they live in this country. And I am also wear the hat of a socialist because I am a socialist and I think that workers should own the means of production. Absolutely. Because if they are, you know, if they are producing all of the wealth, then they should retain that wealth that they produce. So and I talk about, I'm a political commentator and I give a little bit of the news and then we talk and we laugh and that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Good
hmm
intro. Um, so I'm also a socialist, and actually I was just talking a little bit. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was talking to Caleb Maupin earlier today, and it's a lot of our generation is socialist, right? I mean, I feel like it's different for us than it was for the boomers and the Xers.
Yeah.
They felt the Cold War more, like they had like a different association with socialism and communism, and like we don't have as much stigma, and what we do have is more experience with the working class,
Yeah.
because a lot of us, essentially socially fell backwards, right, during the 2008, and then again
Yeah.
for right. So I
Yeah.
mean, most of us are really well educated. A lot of us are, people who graduated high school and college for the first time, for in our family, generationally speaking, right? And when we were promised that you just needed a good education and you could get any job in the world, then we went out and found out there weren't enough jobs for people with education, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's we really felt in a lot of ways the ass end of the stick. And I think that if you want to talk a little bit about that, or if you want to talk a little bit about what it's like being on disability, we can totally, we can go there too. I definitely think that our society values labor wrong. I
Yeah.
think that the argument sort of against disability is like, well, you're just sucking off the teat of the system and whatever. But like, that's not acknowledging all of the labor that you do on a daily basis for free, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not acknowledging, like, even, and I don't know you personally that well, but I'm assuming you have friends, I'm assuming you have family that you call and say I love you to. That's
Yeah.
emotional labor, right? Like,
Yeah.
you
Well,
are
yeah.
in other people's lives. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Um, we pay too much attention to labor in the wrong way. We as a people, we throw human value out the window once you reach a certain age. And because of that, we see a person as less valuable the older they are. In fact, and not to say that women do not produce economic value as much as men, but women are also regarded as, if they don't work, it's not as looked down upon because they are the homemakers, whatever that's supposed to mean. And so they're seen as, their human value is seen higher than it would be for a man, because we're seen as, we're only as good as the labor we produce. And so human value is diminished as the older we get. So for instance, I can try to get housing assistance, but because I'm a male and I don't have children, then I'm seen as not as needy as someone else, even though I'm in poverty and I'm in need of housing assistance. So thing is that we need to prop up more of the human value of people, instead of having this notion that, oh, well, he's still a man, so he can go out there and grind with everybody else. And it's like, well, I could try, but I mean, I'm a kidney dialysis patient, and I'm also, suffer from chronic fatigue and things like that. So it's kind of not as easy as you think. And, so yeah, people need to, we need to recenter what it means to actually have value, especially, within our country, because they place so much value on the labor you produce, but they don't place as much inherent value that you already have.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
let's dive into that a little bit further, about your so I guess essentially your maleness intersectional with your disability, right? Because that's an
Mm-hmm.
interesting thing that you made, that as an adult male, you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing more of a drain on society than an adult woman would be, because it's assumed that the adult woman would be in some kind of a caretaking or homework position, right?
Mm-hmm.
So so that is something that we need to shift our thinking about as a society, not
Yeah.
only because of the patriarchy, male female norms, but also because um if we acknowledge in that instance that women are doing
Mm-hmm.
some kind of work in the home, then they should
Mm-hmm.
be compensated for that, right? I mean, mothers should be compensated for raising their children.
They should be,
Yeah,
but they're not.
but they're not, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so this is another kind of, when I was talking earlier today, we were talking about how, when you think about, like, when conservatives claim that the family is like sort of the pillar of society, and, like, they want to go back to like the traditional family and all this crap. It is, what they're pointing to was a time when the family structure, when agrarian society was the norm, right? So when the family structure was, your family ran a farm and that's how you survived as a family, then yeah, I mean, if a man was only allowed to own property, women were not allowed to own property at the time, right? So the man owns the property, he would be in charge of that, but then the woman has her role in the house and making stuff out of what is sown in the fields and whatever. Then that is sort of like a contract, right? Like, that is sort of like a contract. That is the children and the women of the family saying, well, we are working for the man, we are working for you as long as you take care of us, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we need to really start thinking about the contract when it comes to the family, and when it comes to even with our jobs, right? Because today's the structure of society has changed so radically since then. Like,
Yeah.
we no longer in a position where the father is the head of a family business, right? I mean, that's not really the norm anymore. Now we're working for larger corporations, and we're doing it on an individual basis rather than family structures. So
Yes.
capitalism, which conservative people are already defending, is already washing us toward a different lifestyle in the first place. So like, that's number one. They're fighting a losing battle, and they should, acknowledge that in some fashion.
It's okay. One of the things that you brought up and I was thinking about actually
Yeah, please.
was that when you think about capitalism, conservatives are actually fighting they're fighting, when they talk about family values, they're fighting the system that they uphold.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be real. You're upholding the system that is taking the heads of the household away from the family. How are you going to uphold that system? That is ass backwards. Because you're saying, oh, well, we need people to stay at home and be caretakers of their family. Well, if workers own the means of production, then they're able to make adequate, income so that they won't have to be away from their families as much.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're the party of family values, then damn it, act like it. Then endorse a system that actually facilitates and encourages family.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. There's like, they're a walking contradiction, because yet they want us to have family values, but then they promote a system where it's anti-family.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And that's an insightful point. I appreciate you said that. But let's dive into that a little further too, and say like, well, that's true for the working class, right? But if you think about it, for the ruling class, they do have a family structure because their dad owns the business, right? So they still function like an agrarian society would. So to their traditional familial values, they are defending them for economic reasons as well, right? Because they're defending their family business and they're defending their family structure, right? When they say family value. So that's a whole other kettle of fish. I think that that really speaks to the fact that there is like two different societies. Like, there essentially is an underclass and an overlord class, right? I mean, like, not to be too sci-fi about it, but
no, that's true. That's true.
That's happening. And and we're seeing that we're seeing that separation more and more as we go through each new disaster in the past 20 years or so. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is that, okay, so they want to defend it for the ruling class and saying, well, we worked hard, and so we can actually be able to do that. So you have to wait until you get to be rich over everybody else in order to have family values? I mean, it's like make that make sense. Because the thing is that, okay, so then, stop complaining and moaning about poor people who don't have the family values because they can't afford to do it. But then you guys complain about us not having family values. So which is it going to be? Either stop complaining to us about our family values until we can actually afford it, or stop complaining about family values and then just let us own the means of production so that we can have family values earlier, so that we can actually have that. Because if any way you look at it, we're not going to have it unless we are okay as far as our resources are concerned. A mom and a dad, or a mom and a mom, or a dad and a dad, or a parent and a parent cannot truly appeal to family values if they don't have the time to actually be with their family. It's like, so what do you want us to do? And a lot of us, we went to college. Oh, actually, I'm going back to the point that I wanted to make earlier. We were lied to, right? We were lied to. They said, okay, so if you guys do really well and go to college, you guys can do anything you want and the world is your oyster. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Absolutely wrong. Because guess what? If that was the case, then it would be true. But it's not. Why? Because capitalism, the system that you uphold, requires that only a small few actually have the world as their oyster. Because if it was that case for all of us, then we wouldn't even have billionaires because the money would actually be more spread out. Because
Yep.
we actually would be more productive in making that money. But they don't want that. No. They want you to think that, but they don't want that. No. And so this is one of the reasons why a lot of us who are millennials, I'm kind of like a middle-aged millennial. I just turned 37. And so we look at it like capitalism's not working out. So maybe we need to try something else. And then next thing you know, a lot of the older people who are the part of the oppressor class go, no. We cannot have this idea getting out there because if they figure out that there are other better systems, then they're going to want to go to that. And then we're going to end up just like everybody else. We're going to be regular. Oh my God. We're going to be average, just like everybody else. We don't want them to know the truth that we also take a shit every morning, just like they do. That's what they don't want you to know. And the thing is that Jeff Bezos' life, it does not matter more than you.
No.
His life is not worth more than yours.
Absolutely not. His life is not worth more than yours. He has not worked harder than you have.
No, he has not.
No, he has not.
Mm-mm.
No.
And so for him to have that much more money than the rest of us is robbery.
Absolutely.
Robbery. And so, you know, I have no sympathy for any one of those billionaires that want to take a gigantic phallus into the stratosphere just to prove how rich they are. And so yeah, like if I wanted to see a big ass phallus go up into the air, I would have brought a dildo and just thrown it up in the air myself. Like, come on.
Oh my God. Yeah, we are double penetrating space.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't help. Don't bother cutting that out. It's rich. It's good. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm not cutting.
Right.
That's cool.
But here's the thing. It's like, and then you got the mainstream media glad handing him, going, oh my goodness, look at him. He's going up into space. Oh my gosh. You know, did you know that Jeff Bezos was the first man that I've ever noticed that people actually were not wishing him a safe return?
I'm not
when the astronauts go up, we're like, oh my God, please make them have a safe return. You know, but Jeff Bezos, they were like, we want him to crash down. Down with him.
Yeah, fuck him. Somebody built a beach.
Ding dong, the billionaire's dead.
Back. No, fuck that.
Yeah, no.
Like, please let the Martians take him.
Yeah, and it's like, why did we not want him to have a safe return?
I'll play the Jeff song right here.
Could it? Wait. Could it be that because he exploits so many people that we see him as more of a stain on society than an actual benefit?
Yeah.
Makes you think.
It's not for nothing that they built a guillotine in front of his house. Like, I really think of him as like Marie Antoinette, the modern Marie Antoinette.
Yeah,
His,
and there's about 600 of them.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And he really refers to his fortune as winnings. I heard in one interview, he referred to it as winnings, and he felt that the only responsible thing he could do with his winnings was to make a space penis. I swear to God. Hand to God, an interview somewhere. I'm pretty sure I saw it on a John Oliver episode or something. Because
Oh gosh, make it up for something that he really doesn't have much of. Anyway, so you know, you know, Jeff Bezos, calling it winnings is
I
what's
mean,
the best?
that's more accurate than calling it earnings, though, isn't it? I
It's
mean,
not even. It's
earnings,
not winnings. It's not
it's like
earnings.
spoils from a war.
It's spoil. Yeah, I mean, you can call it spoils. I'd rather. I'd rather call it the loot that he stole.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
he just looted the American people, but he's doing a lot of what other people have done, and we look at these people. We were propagandized to look at these people as being good in some way just because they were able to exploit people the best, and we as socialists are now looking at as, wait, you exploited people for that money. Like, how are you good in any way? And the thing is that there's a lot of people who actually have the drive, work ethic, and capacity to work just as hard, if not harder, than some of these billionaires. The only difference, the reason why they're not billionaires, is that they don't want to screw people over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's I would like to see I mean, we as socialists have been asking our government to do a lot, right? Asking our government to not that they're doing it, but we were asking our government to do federal jobs guarantee, Medicare for all of these things, right? So
Yeah.
saying that we shouldn't be asking for that. I believe we should be.
Oh, yeah.
But when it comes to like Amazon is an excellent example. Like, I really support in some ways some of the things that Amazon has done for small businesses. In some ways, they've enabled small businesses on their platform and individual sellers, and they've certainly enabled independent publishing to flourish. I mean,
Yeah.
that them was completely laughed at.
Mm-hmm.
So that's completely toppled the publishing industry as well. I mean, I back in 2011, I was living in New York, and I had an internship at Scholastic, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get into the field, and I just couldn't find a job anywhere. There was just no money. Everybody was just pulling up their belt or whatever. So anyway, I mean, so I would like to see, and like that stuff that like Jeff Bezos didn't think of. You know what I'm saying? Like, he acquired some companies, like he, his employees thought of some other stuff. Like, he didn't do all of that, right? Like, Amazon is the creation of all of the employees of Amazon, and therefore they should own Amazon, right? All of the employees should own Amazon. That's what I would like to see. I mean, obviously the first thing that we need to do is to unionize, and shout out to Christian Smalls and his effort. I think that that's obviously the first thing we need to do is to create those networks, create mutual aid networks, and create an infrastructure for ourselves as moneyed people. And then I'd really like to see us talk about that kind of thing, talking about taking back ownership. I was really inspired by like the meme stocks thing that happened a while ago. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
A couple of rogue like Reddit guys were got a group together, and they essentially toppled two hedge fund groups. So that's hilarious, and it's also telling that they're like, what you were saying about, you know, you said something before that made me want to say that the reason that we can tell that we are the most overeducated and underemployed generation is that we only own 5% of the wealth, whereas Gen Xers own 25% of the wealth and boomers own 55% of the wealth. So that is a huge indicator that it's not just our age, it's not just our experience, whatever, like, we have been financially oppressed as a generation because of the recession, depression, essentially, and then again COVID.
Yeah.
We essentially have been financially ravaged as a generation, and because of that we have a lot more, we have so much untapped skills and potential that I really think that we can, we are starting to rise up, and we are starting to recognize that we have been fed so much crap, and we have been counting on being able to beat the system in a way, like I believe there's a statistic where like 60% of millennials believe that the system is broken, but they can somehow beat it anyway. I mean, that says a lot about our generation, because we grew up in a boom period, right? We grew up in the dot-com boom 90s, and we tasted what upward mobility felt like. Our parents experienced it, and now we expected more of the same. And when we graduated, we did not receive it. We fell backwards immediately, and that made a huge impact on our generation. And I think, I was talking to Meg a little while ago about this, that we like the promise that we grew up with, that you just get an education and you can get it every job or whatever, like that was true for boomers, right?
Yeah,
like that
it was.
Who managed to go to college. But for us, with so many of us did go to college and put ourselves in serious debt to do so, that we are there were too many of us in a shrinking economy, right? We're already more populous than Gen X. We were already more populous than the boomers, and they had essentially, when the recession, depression hit, the number of jobs available shrunk, right? So they were able, that's how we got entry-level jobs that were demanding 3 to 5 years of experience, right? Like that, like everyone loves to talk about how that happened, because it was literally every job application that ever, they required some, and you just end up lying. End up lying, because what can you do?
I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret. I am not college educated.
Nice.
I never went to college. I never stepped foot in a college except for to tour one when I was in middle school.
Wow.
So when a lot of people look at me, they're like, oh man, so what college did you go to? Nowhere. I didn't go to college.
Good.
Why? But why didn't I go to college? Because as a teenager, at the age of 15 going on 16, I knew that college was extremely expensive and you go into extreme debt, because they even garnished my mom's, student loans, right? And so I decided to go to a magnet high school and to learn culinary arts as an elective, so that I can go out and have a trade in the field, so that I didn't have to go to college. So that's exactly what I did. But then I still got sick. But the point is that at that age, I knew that I would get into deep debt. I still would like to go to college. If we had college tuition free, I'd be in the first in line to go to class, and I would go into a 4-year university and get my degree in something. But because it is so expensive, and it puts like a chain around your neck, and it sinks you down to the bottom because of all that debt, that's something that I just couldn't do, because I've seen so many other people do it. And so this is one of the reasons why I never went. This is why I don't have college debt.
Good for you.
And, I mean, yeah, good for me. But at the same time, I also wanted to do something. But another thing I also wanted to say is that there's an oversaturation of college degrees within our system.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough. There is an undersaturation of vocational ability within our system because people don't really, push vocational technical education. So this is one of the reasons why we don't have enough plumbers, we don't have enough electricians, we don't have enough mechanics, things like that, because there's not enough people going there. And they're literally pulling people out of school to work for these fields, and they're making upwards and close to six figures.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that why isn't this happening? Because we all were fed the lie that go to college and you make a life. And then people like plumbers are looked down upon, as a trade. You know how they are. Plumbers are always unkempt, disheveled. They always, can't pull their pants up. They're always being seen and shown in that way when a certified, plumber, master plumber is making probably above $80,000 a year.
Wow.
And it's like, wait a minute, hold on. You guys made it look bad to us as we were growing up. And you push this elitist mindset that, oh, we have to go to college and get a college education. Well, guess what? Now you have people who got a college education, but they can't even make a living wage, whereas you have plumbers out here who are actually making a lot more than they are.
Yep. That's
Because
my
because of the lie. Because they lied to us, because they wanted to give all that money to these premier colleges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And colleges are their own industry at this point. I mean, education is its own industry, certainly, with all of the standardized testing companies and whatnot. But, college own, they make so much money. Private colleges, Ivy League colleges especially, right? Like from the government and from their donors, and that's what's fun.
But
go ahead.
I just want to say this though. Number one, college has its place, and in some ways it is good, for people to go to college because there are certain fields they need to be able to study in college for. But at the same time, college is not the end all be all. And also, just because you don't go to college and don't go to vocational school is no excuse for you not to get a living wage. You deserve a living wage just by being able to work and do the job. So also, you don't have to get a secondary education in order to be able to make a living wage. So I also want to debunk that bullshit as well. Yeah. So, wish you can puff past to me right now over here, but it's whatever. But yeah. So I just wanted to put that out there because a lot of times people, they'll sit here and go, oh, well, they didn't go to college, so they don't deserve a living wage. Get out of here. No,
that's horseshit. Listen, I have a BA and I have a master's. Okay. And well, I'm going to tell, I've been telling everybody in the world that I have a master's. The reality is I was 2 classes short of a master's because my grandpa got sick and I had to move back home to take care of him. But I master's because it was like one elective and one independent study. And I had to pay that. I had to pay fucking, what was it? Not at least $1,000 a credit. And it was like, a 6 credit class or something like that. So like $6,000 to $9,000 for a class in which it was an independent study. Are you fucking joking me? So yeah, so I have a lot of student debt, and it wasn't worth it. I am here to tell you that it wasn't worth it. I loved college, my undergrad experience. I went right out of high school and I had like, the typical experience. I went for theater, which was
Hmm.
probably also stupid, but my parents were hippies and let me do what I want. And you know, I, you know, I loved I loved it. I learned a lot. If I really had gone through with an acting career, if my parents hadn't gotten sick at that point, I would have really benefited from what I learned.
Hmm.
However, I didn't learn anything remotely preparing me to get a management position anywhere. I didn't learn anything preparing me to get a secretary job anywhere. I mean, like literally, I, I could not find a job that looked at my BA and said, "Oh, I'm impressed you have a BA. I don't care that it's in theater." You know what I'm saying? It literally everybody was like, "BA? Oh, theater." You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
um, so that's a whole other, experience that was different for us than any other generation before us. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly. And the number, I mean, what you were talking about before, like the number of majors that there are these days to attract people, so my master's program was a perfect example of this. I wanted to be a children's librarian in a school. I was I was informed that this was a new policy back in 2011 that all librarians had to have a library science master's degree.
Hmm.
So I that's what I went to school for, even though sometimes I say it's, like it's information design or something like that, because I went to a design school and I do have design experience. They just happen to be separate. But you gotta fucking work it out here. I mean, people are such dicks. Like, I have the skills. Fuck off. So anyway,
Yeah.
like trust me, I have skills. Like, I'm not worried about being able to do your job. Okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I fucking nursed my parents through cancer. I fucking nursed my grandpa through dementia. Like, I managed his pill schedule. I managed all of his doctors, which is a lot more work than it sounds like, because you have to fucking keep every doctor straight. And he had about 10 different specialists, and you have to make sure that you communicate with each one of them. It's essentially a full-time job to take care of somebody like that.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I know you know it. I know you know it firsthand. And so, it's, I'm not worried about being able to do your job. I'm worried about you underestimating me. Right. So that's why I try to make myself like, that's how I justify fucking lying on my resume, because like, you don't like, people just immediately judge me anyway. So anyway, that was a tangent. What was I talking about before? Uh, 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 um,
Have education.
oh yeah. Okay,
Hmm.
yes. So going back to going back to my master's program. So hilariously, Forbes magazine proclaimed that the least profitable master's degree one could get was a library science master's degree, which was what I went for. So thanks a lot, Forbes magazine. And they weren't wrong, because they required librarians in public libraries to have master's degrees. And those librarians don't make more than $20 per hour if you're a head librarian. I mean, I was talking to Megan. She said she made like $10 to $11 per hour. How ridiculous is that? I mean, like that's not a living wage. It's not a living wage. I mean, I honestly believe that $15 is not a living wage anymore either. I think 20
No.
barely a living wage, and I don't make that now. So, and again, I have never worked a job. Let me put it that way. I have never worked a job in which either of my degrees have applied. None of my jobs, every job I've ever had, I didn't have to have a degree for. Let me put it that way. So I went and got 2 degrees, and every job that I've ever worked, mostly retail, also a secretary job, and just recently a nursing job, I could have had straight out of high school. So I went and I spent, like almost $1 million fucking on college. I don't know. That's probably completely incorrect. because I didn't have $1 million. But no, I went on student loans, and my younger years, I think, were maybe like 150,000 in loans.
Oh,
And that was paid off when my parents died because we had to sell our family house. And so when my master's program, I think I have almost $100,000 in debt now from that. So I still have that debt because I just been ducking it. I've owed it for years at this point, and I've just been ducking it. And my credit score is going further and further down, and there's nothing I can do about it because I'm, like pinching pennies. I'm pinching pennies. Like to even get to the Medicare for All march, I needed to borrow money from my ex-boyfriend so that me and my girlfriend could go into the city together. We didn't have the money. That's just how I live. It's not weird for me. And like, actually, this is the best, unfortunately, monetarily speaking, this is the best situation I've had since, my parents passed away, really. I mean, monetarily speaking, like I had some money after they passed. I ended up going through it because it wasn't too much. And then after that, I was poor because I worked retail jobs, and I could never really afford to support myself fully. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I worked in retail as well. Boy, retail was hell. I don't ever want to work retail again.
Where did you work? Can you divulge?
Oh gosh. Okay, so my first retail job, it's kind of funny. So I was part of a program where they were trying to rehabilitate to get me back to work because of my being disabled. And so the coach was like, okay, so I have a job for you. You're going to do a job interview. I'm like, okay. She told me to dress up. She takes me to a Sears. Yes, they still exist. And so I got out the car. I got my resume. She taught me, how to go through an interview correctly. I go into the Sears and I'm sitting there and they're like, I see a bunch of people also applying because they're having some type of job fair. I go and I meet with who I didn't know was the general manager. And so I went in there and I did not care about getting the job. I didn't care. I just said all the right things, and I noticed that, the manager kind of played for my team. So I was just like, okay, I was going to talk to him like we're friends. And I did. And at the end of the interview, I started asking him different questions. And then he was like, any more questions? I said, yeah, when do I start? And he was like,
I love you so much.
yeah. I was like, yeah, when do I start? And then next thing you know, he goes, okay, well, orientation is this day, that blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, cool, great. Next thing you know, I was like, okay, I got hired on the spot. So I had a job right then and there. And I worked there for like 2.5 years. And next thing you know, I started seeing the writing on the wall because I saw how Sears was going down. And I was like, okay, so I guess I'm doing okay at this retail thing. I guess I can go, a little bit bigger with the bigger dogs. I mean, it's not real estate and it's not car sales, but it's bigger. So I went to Ashley Furniture to do furniture sales.
Yeah.
And so I went to their job fair that they were having. And I basically did the exact same thing as I did there. And I told them everything that they wanted to hear as far as sales goes. And I was speaking to a guy who I did not know that was going to be the general manager. And then he was like, well, let me speak to this other manager. And next thing you know, this guy was the regional manager. And they were like, okay, we'll give you a call. I was like, okay. I put my hand on the door to leave. James, wait. So then they said, we want to talk to you for a second. And the managers were like, so do you want to tell him? He's like, I don't know. Did you want to tell him? I'm like, okay, well, you're hired. So my second retail job, I got hired on the spot because I guess I had the personality and they felt like I can build a rapport with people. And so they were like, well, you can work in retail with us. And so I worked there for about a year until it started to interfere with my disability. And so I've experienced how people treat others. And in retail, you get treated like shit. And I don't want to ever see anyone go through that again. Because we're human beings and we should not be subject to that. And so I don't ever really want to work in retail again because sales to me is just, I hate pushing people to get things that they don't want. And so that was something that, you know, and a lot of people will say, well, you just have to have the drive. You got to look at it this way. I'm like, no, that's not me. But
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, I would have done a lot better at sales if I owned a part of the company and if I had my say in the company, in the workings of how things went. I would have done a lot better, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Because
Oh,
that's the other thing. Like, I identified with a couple of things you said, but first let me oh my God. I hate it when I get like two thoughts in my head. I'm like, if I say one of them, I'm gonna forget the other one. And
yeah, that's me too.
Okay, so I'll just go with this one. So I currently work with a woman who is from Romania, and I don't know too much about the history of Romania, but they used to have a communist government until I guess we were kids, and then they had some kind of overthrow, and now they have a capitalist democracy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you know more about it than I do because I really have no fucking idea.
Who, when we were kids, and now it's a capitalist democracy. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially. So anyway, so it's interesting though, the way that she expects to be treated on the job, because she tells me a lot of stories about how, like, yes, Romania is a poor country, and yes, like things, you know, over there you don't get the best wages or whatever, and that's why a lot of people from Romania come to Germany and different countries to work. But you know, she said that, you know, every time that she had a boss, she really enjoyed working with the boss. She said that it was kind of like a family experience. She told me that there were times when she was you know, there was a time when like something happened to her car and she didn't have enough money to get it fixed, and her boss lent her the money to get it fixed and said, pay me back whenever you can, don't even worry about it. I have been actually more than once with more than one boss, and both times it was, I mean, it was not like that whatsoever.
No,
It was,
it never is.
you know, and I actually, one situation I had with my last boss, he once offered to loan me, and I thought this was nice considering, he once offered to loan me like $500 or something for something I needed, and I was like, listen, I really appreciate that you're letting me borrow this money, but you don't pay me enough money to pay you back, because I don't make extra money every month, right?
Yeah.
I'm in the negative every month. So I don't have the money to pay you back out of my paycheck every month. So I'm not going to take this money that you're trying to lend to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the situation we are here. And he didn't understand why. He didn't understand why I said that. I know. Because all the girls in the
Don't
office.
you see her paycheck every single time?
But you know, all the girls in the office got paid the same, and it was a situation where everybody in the office was you know, Indian, from India, and they all were very used to living in like larger family structures, right? And they didn't understand that I was a woman living by myself, that I had no family to rely on. I mean, they didn't understand that. They didn't. That doesn't exist, because if you're essentially like alone in your area in India, you'll probably get adopted by a friend or whatever and then become part of their family, or whatever. It's like they're very family focused there. And so I I all of the other girls in the office were making the same amount of money I was, but they all had relatives to rely on, and I didn't. So he didn't understand, and nobody else spoke out. Everybody else, most everybody else that worked there was on a green card, or not green card, work visa, something. And I was one of the like 3 actual citizens that worked there. So I felt comfortable enough to speak out about it a few times, even though they laughed in my face and did nothing. But yeah, I don't know why I got off on that thing. Okay, so that was one of the things in my head. What was the other one? Fuck, it had something to do.
We were talking about working in retail.
Yeah. Working in retail is fuck awful. Oh yeah, yeah. That was the other thing. So like I started out working in, first I worked at Pier 1 Imports, and then I also worked at Borders bookstore. I miss you. It was really fun to work in the New Jersey one. And then when I transferred to New York, I worked in Penn Station, and that was bloody murder. We were right next to Madison Square Garden. I worked there for a year. It was a fucking nightmare. We had traffic up the ass. Our manager took naps under a newspaper. Like, it was just everything you could, so like but I would have ended up advancing with the Borders company, right, if they had been advancing, but they were they literally died. Like I think that I rage quit that job, I think, because my manager was such an asshole. He like yelled at me in front of a customer, and I was like, fuck you, I'm out. I hate this.
Yeah.
I think that like just a few months after that, Borders declared bankruptcy and went completely under.
Yeah, so it sounds like you kind of dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, but I identified with you when you said, that when you worked for Sears, like they were going under, right? I mean, that happened to us because, there were so many different bookstores. There were so many different, retail chains that are not around anymore in this country.
Yeah. I was part of the dying breed of department stores.
Yeah.
Department stores are going down, especially in the onset of the Walmarts and the Amazons. And so, you look at what Walmart was doing. Walmart could have started doing what Amazon was doing before Amazon did it. And there's a lot of one thing I think is awesome about workers owning the means of production is that workers a lot of times have some great ideas, but they just don't share it with the company because they don't own it. So therefore, they are not going to make anything from it.
Yeah. The fucked up part about retail, I think, it's very clear to see that they believe that they own you, right? Like you are subject to being called in, even if you don't have like regular call-in hours, which some stores do, but you are still subject to being called in at any time of day. And if you don't come, if you don't accommodate them enough, they will find a reason to fire you. I mean, that's just common knowledge.
Yeah.
But they expect us to donate our souls to them, but they give zero shits about our well-being and our life. I mean, that's what I was talking about before with a contract. Like, I really want us to start talking about that every job is a social contract. Every job is a social and economic contract, literally. I mean, because you're contract, but also because you're working for a company, and the company expects you to give a certain amount, and therefore, I expect that amount back from you, right? We're not in wages. We're not getting it in wages. Like, can you at least be nice to us? Can you at least not work us to death, for fuck's sake. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that, you know, if the more that we start talking about our employers as somebody that we have a contract with, that puts us on equal footing with them. You know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, and I think in reality, like, there's nobody's labor is more important than anyone else's. So like the person frying fries at McDonald's is worth the same amount as a human as the CEO of McDonald's. Okay. And their labor should be the same amount. Like, it should be worth the same amount. That's what I think. I mean, that's super radical. I know a lot of socialists don't even argue that there's some kind of, you know, like, you know, some educated and skilled work should be paid more than other work and stuff like that. I personally don't believe that, because I think that given the opportunity, people will, you know, do what they're interested in doing and do it, you know, well, in an educated way. If they're, if society functioned as it should, I do believe that. Because I believe that, you know, that people who are considered lazy, people who are considered wastrels or whatever the fuck, they're the wastrels, wastrels and minstrels. Uh, so like a lot of like, and I know everybody knows somebody like that in their life, right? Like, everybody can think of somebody like, oh, you're just living off of your parents or the government or whatever. And, you know, there's something keeping that person from fulfilling their, you know, what they would like to do, right? There's still a lot of the time it's a mental something, right? I don't want to say disability, I don't want to say illness, but it's a mental, you know, maybe disorder. Okay. So like a lot of the times that goes undealt with. And sometimes it's a physical one that they don't, you know, people don't even bother to try to get disability for, right? I mean, you know, I know I can't afford a lawyer. I know that I would need to get a lawyer to get on any kind of disability, either for my back or for my PTSD. I would love to be on disability. Like, there have been points where, like, I'm surprised, like, that I wasn't immediately fired because I lost my shit at a job once, you know, like, I see you yawning there, bud. If you want to cut this short at any point, just raise your hand.
No, it's okay. But I wanted to touch on you talking about, you know, people not having the motivation to work in some certain capacities. For people, work is work. It's not something that you necessarily enjoy. What you enjoy is actually on the weekends. And if people had just enough amount of work so that they can have, you know, all their basic needs met, so that they can have a proper work-life balance, they wouldn't really care that much about, you know, they would go to work and they would just go do their job and then come home. It wouldn't even be that big of a deal for them. But the problem is that these companies want your life, your work to be your life. And they expect that. And the thing is that we also put so much stock into people working to the point where if somebody only wants to do 25 to 28 hours a week, we consider them lazy, when really they probably actually have a better idea of proper work-life balance than the rest of us.
Yep.
Because if we were able to make a thriving wage at 25 to 28 hours a week, and then we had extra time to do things that we actually wanted to, we would actually be able to, what's the word? Live. And that's what it's about. Work is supposed to fund your life. It's not supposed to be your life.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we in the United States have it warped. We have this warped sense of, if you're always, it's kind of like, if you're always busy, then that is something that's good. It's like, not necessarily, because you can still be busy without having to work. And there's a time and place for everything, but people are so out of whack, out of balance, to the point where they think that whole, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. It's like, no, 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 no. Let them have time to lean so that they can recover a little bit, so they can be productive.
Yeah, absolutely. I
You know,
it pisses me off that in almost every retail job, you're not allowed to sit on the floor unless you get like a special doctor's note,
yeah, you're
right?
not allowed to have a chair.
Not allowed to have a chair.
Yeah,
How fucked is that? I mean,
yeah.
like that's, I mean, I had an accident, I guess almost about 15 years ago now, with a truck. I was hit by a fucking truck. My back got fucked up. And then I, over the years, fucked it up more and more and more and more because
Ooh.
I, did 8-hour, 10-hour shifts on a concrete floor.
Mm-hmm.
That, that's just how your life goes. I mean, like you talk to women who've waitressed for more than 5 years, they'll show you the varicose veins they have, like it fucks you up. These
It
jobs
does.
fuck up, and then they leave you for dead when you're useless.
Yeah.
And it's not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I was working in furniture sales, I was on dialysis and working at the same time. I did about 40 hours a week while on dialysis.
Oh my God.
And I go to dialysis 3 days a week, and I work the other 4 days a week.
Shit.
And I stood on that concrete floor on the sales floor for between 10 to 12 hours a day.
Oh.
And having people being rude to me because they came into my store, and then I had to approach them because, well, in sales, you know, you got to do the ABCs, always be selling.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I had to do that, you know, and it got to a point where there would be times where my body would be telling me, stop. Like, I actually had excruciating pains where I literally had to go leave work.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing was, I always was like, I never called in. I never called in. I would always, even if I felt like I should stay home, I would go to work, let them know that I wasn't feeling well so they can send me home, so
Wow.
that I wouldn't have a call in on my record.
Good for you. That's smart. That's smart.
But it shouldn't have to be that way.
No, no.
It shouldn't. But that's the way they operated.
Mm-hmm.
And I, you know, I rarely ever got to take vacations because vacations were something that's foreign to me. And I only got to take my first vacation 2 years ago.
Wow.
And I was 35 at the time.
Shit. Oh my God.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just like there's a lot, and some people may look at me and go, well, you're, overly dependent on the system because you're on disability. And it's like, look, if I go to work, I can only make so much anyway on disability.
Mm-hmm.
And people on disability typically always live in poverty because disability only gives you so much. They give you what's equivalent, that's less than a livable wage. I mean, that's less than the minimum wage that we currently have.
Yeah.
So
And a lot of people are in the situation where, they make literally just as much as their rent
yeah,
and that's it. So anything else is, either through friends or charities and I knew somebody who was like that, who had to live on government assistance and several charities so that she
yeah,
could, because she had she was on a lot of medication and she had a lot of car problems. And yeah, I mean, it's an impossible situation. It's
yeah,
an impossible.
yeah. Do you mind if we pause for a second?
Sure.
I have to use the bathroom.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, because I still want to keep this going because it's a really good conversation. I don't
Yeah.
want to stop. It's just I'm just like,
Oh, go, honey, go.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Fine.
I'll be right back. Okay.
Welcome
Oh
back
my goodness.
for our intermission.
Welcome back, people. Yeah. Yeah. So, in the news today, capitalism sucks.
In the news every day.
Yeah. Then
It is the news every day. Right.
this just in. Capitalism sucks for everyone and it kills us all. More at 11. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we gotta deviate from that lie. And you know what would be so cool if Amazon was just a worker co-op, just one big worker co-op.
Like, I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, me too.
I again, it's got to be unions first. I mean, you got to organize first and build that infrastructure. But eventually, I would love to see, unions start to do that. I think that, and from a small business perspective, I think that we can sort of teach ourselves to do that as well, right? So one of the boons of our generation is that we have so many skills. We not only were we overeducated in that we have a lot of degrees and crap, but also, the way that we were educated when we were younger is actually significantly different than previous generations. They used a different, an evolved pedagogy on us, essentially. So when we talk about group projects, for example, like our generation experienced in school group projects a lot more frequently than any other generation. We were encouraged a lot more to do our own research about issues. We are more I think literate on how to tell good from bad information. And I think that we are, more generally more able to figure something out if needed. I mean, like, literally, if you give me a new program without the handbook, I don't need to cry because I can Google it, right? Like, that's not weird for me. That's normal for us.
Yeah.
And that's, that's not just because of the tech revolution when we were kids. It's also because of the way we were taught in general. I mean, obviously everybody's taught differently at different backgrounds and stuff, but for the most part, there was a movement since the 70s to teach children differently. And so, I think that because of this, we have a different understanding of like a boss worker relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like and a lot of the articles that are written against millennials actually discuss this because like boomers don't know how to deal with it, right? Like they don't understand why we feel entitled to speak our opinions about stuff. Like, I mean, so for example, like as a worker, that the company makes you do things that is not the most efficient way to do something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, we all have our own relationship with, getting by and whatever on that. But, it's essentially like the workers who are doing the actual job have a far better perspective on how the job should be done than the people on the top who don't do the job and tell you how to do it, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so the idea is leaving my brain. Shit, I was on a thing. Fuck. Well, so I would like to see us
because I was talking about Amazon.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to see us not only talk about socializing current giant corporations, but I would also like to see us building socialist, co-op style businesses as well. Like if you have any way of starting a business, like please make it a socialist co-op type of business, right?
Yeah,
Please,
of course.
with your
Yeah.
workers. And in doing so, then we can start to grow a socialist power base in this country, right? Because we don't have the socialist power base that maybe we once had during the 1930s when there was powerful communist parties and stuff like that. That's because there were a lot of people who had recently immigrated, like in the 1910s, that still had businesses and wealth from Europe. And they were able to put it into those parties, right? So if we have more socialists, like we don't, it's not just about going to fundraise and beg for money. It's also about building, building a foothold essentially in this capitalist system for socialists, So I would also like to see us talk a lot more about that and how, our generation is perfectly primed to do that because we were, in general, very generally speaking, we were encouraged to speak more, to present our opinions to our teachers, in school. We were encouraged to think for ourselves and we were encouraged to work in groups. And when we were thrown into a group project situation, everybody knows that there's no hierarchy, right? There's no established hierarchy. You're just, everybody has to do a group project together and you guys decide how it's done. And actually that's not something that we really explore too much in school, which is interesting. But I think that it really gave our generation an interesting perspective on, I don't know, maybe self-reliance and also how to organize together as a group. Because when you're thrown into a situation with essentially, like acquaintances and or strangers, you figure out very quickly who is the smart one, who is the dumb one, who is the funny one, who is the one who's willing to be responsible, and who is the one who has nothing to contribute, but wants to be in charge. Right? Like those are those are the people you identify immediately. Yeah. I generally go for, I identify who wants to be in charge but has nothing to contribute. I suggest I suggest that I do something that I'm good at, and then I insist that I have power over my own little corner, and then I do my one thing, and you guys do the rest of the project. That's how I function. I feel like everybody's big mechanism when they put in group project.
Some of us were the idea people, know, and that's okay too, because there's a role for us to play. But yeah, the whole thing about being more vocal, it's like, but you taught us to be that way.
Yes.
You taught us to, make our demands known. And you also taught us more collectivist and collaborative, things. So don't be surprised if we want to apply that to our workplaces now. Yeah. And we want to apply that to our government, because you basically taught us. And we were never subject to that Red Scare, myth that you guys were subject to. So now we're actually looking at socialism and communism and going, well, these were actually some pretty good ideas. And in the age of the internet, we actually were given this information because, well, we're not just subject to the propaganda that we're given here in the United States. We don't have to go to a movie theater and see propaganda reels, of them telling us what the United States military is doing and that we're, about truth, justice, and the American way. Like, no, we actually seen in history, especially online, for what, our country has done. So a lot of times we're trying not to allow history to repeat itself. And so I like your idea of talking about us coming together. Like, you don't have to come up with all the capital to start a business yourself.
Right.
You can get a bunch of people together and guys can start a worker co-op and have equal say into what goes on. And then as you guys get new people hired, that person who gets hired, they also contribute by their labor to the entire business. So therefore they also are part owner and they have a say.
Exactly.
and that's how you can start it. I heard, don't quote me, but I heard the company Ocean Spray is a worker co-op.
Oh, cool. Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I mean, if you like cranberry juice, then hey, there you go.
I'm in New Jersey. I should look into that.
You're in Jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm originally from Camden, actually. So,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, it's just like people need to realize that you you can be a worker, and an owner at the same time. And people talk about, oh, you don't have the entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah, a lot of people do. They just don't want to risk being the sole owner of a company. It's a lot more risk and danger involved in that versus actually being part owner. And socialism actually allows for more entrepreneurship than capitalism does.
Yeah.
People don't think about it that way.
Able to survive, to even have the room in your life to be an entrepreneur, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the other thing. And that's honestly something that I've struggled with, because I've never been able to survive on one job. So I'm always trying to side hustle. And this is my actually second side hustle, because I also make art and do graphic design. And then, I also DoorDash, and then I also have a full-time job. So, I mean, like it's like it, what I would like, I have garnered so many skills over my time as, like doing all this crazy crap. If we were able to, like, for example, like graphic designers can band together to create a graphic design firm, right? Mm-hmm. We can band together to create a more, co-op kind of power base. And I really hope that we start doing that, because we don't really need too much money to start these things. And I think we're starting to find that out with a lot of the online organizing that I've been seeing recently. I am the video lead for United Left, and we are not able to accept donations at this point because we haven't registered for anything. But we are and have been doing good work for like 2 years now. And, wow. Like that's just all volunteer. And a huge shout out to everybody who's volunteered with United Left. Like, we need more of you. Like, we need more volunteers if you're interested in in spreading a leftist message and uniting leftist groups together to work together for common purpose. Then please come to ourunitedleft.org. But yeah, we are I mean, we were able to do a lot. We were able to put together videos. We were able to get, hashtags trending #2 in the country. Like, wow. Yeah, I mean, like we were able to do a lot from having no money, essentially. I mean, we have a few people that are, like supporting our website right now and stuff like that. But other than that, we don't, it's just what we can do out of our own pockets. Right. So, wow. We need to stop, as much as we can, because I understand the need to do things for survival purposes. I really, really do. Like, I don't want to be a DoorDash driver. Like, I've had nights where, like I went out for 3 hours and I made like $15. Like, it sucks. Like, I've had good nights too. I'm in a good part of New Jersey, so I'm lucky in that way. But I want to dedicate my time to something that is going to ensure my future. DoorDash is not going to do that. And we'll never do that, no matter how hard I work for them or work up a ladder or whatever the shit. I'm never going to reach a point as a DoorDash driver that, I'm going to get like healthcare and, and they offer healthcare to their drivers, but not, not good, not healthcare that you can really use and take care of yourself on. They don't reimburse for gas. So like I need, I'm doing this, I'm doing my art because I'm building my retirement. This is how I view it. I'm not going to get a pension from anyone. I never had a job. The last job I had as a secretary, I would have had a pension if I stayed there long enough, but I don't think I would have made it. I don't
Yeah.
think they didn't like me. I wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
So,
We're-
it's I have to, this is my retirement package.
yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
build my way in the world. And the more that we do that as millennials, the more that we band together to do that with each other, I think the better off it is. And the more, like they always say that millennials kill certain industries and stuff because we're too poor to buy anything in those industries or whatever the shit. Like, I mean, let's actually go kill industries because we won't work for them anymore. Let them figure out how to fucking use Google and the fax machine and all that shit that they made me do. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's seriously, like,
Yeah.
as much as we can, let's band together and start, really doing this, making a separate society, to the point where we can build a power base and
Of
become,
course.
yeah.
hmm Yeah. And the thing is that I like what you said when you're going back to you're making your pension right now. Like we don't have anything. So it's like Medicare for all, Green New Deal, federal jobs guarantee, all those things are, I'm counting on that to help me out because I don't have anything else. We don't have this institution where we can depend on for, us when we get old and we can depend on for the rest of our lives. We don't have that. So why, you know, why are we going to sit here and try to play like, we have our future set ahead of us? We don't. So people can stop with that whole, you guys aren't saving enough. Yeah, we don't make enough to save. We live in paycheck to paycheck. I think it's what 70% of the country lives paycheck to paycheck, something like that. And so, you can, morally preen about us living from paycheck to paycheck all you want, but at the same time, the thing is, your generation and generations before have actually made this country into such a way where we actually aren't able to survive. So even for us to make it to where a lot of boomers are today, we have to be lucky in order to survive that well. And if we, if we don't manage to survive, it's because of the living conditions that we're put under, and we just can't do it. And I know a lot of boomers say, well, you guys shit on boomers all the time. And the thing is that I'm going to say this. I'm not shitting on the leftist boomers. That's the ones who I don't shit on. Everybody else, go fly a kite in a stormy day. Go ahead. Because, and the thing is that one of the things that I noticed, and I talked to my mom about this, my mom's a boomer, and she got screwed by the system too. She can't afford to live on her own. She's about to turn 70 this month. She can't afford to live on her own because of the way the system is set up. And the sad part is my mom's still trying to find work. Turning 70 in 3 weeks and still trying to find work.
That is so monumentally fucked up. I mean, like, that's at some point, that's elder abuse.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And she's constantly worried about the rent, the electric, the internet, her car. Like, for instance, if you look at her car, the windows are taped shut because, it's off track and we don't have enough money to fix the windows on the car. She needs a tune-up. I can't afford to do that. She needs new tires on the thing. It's a 2004 car and we're in 2021. Think about that. So, the air conditioning needs to be fixed because it goes hot from time to time. And she's 70 years old. She's about to be 70, and it's not fair, And so even some boomers are basically victims of the system, and it's not fair to her. And then people say, oh, well, she should have been more responsible. It's like she was one of the hardest working women I've ever met. How much more responsible do you want her to be?
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't a teenage mom. She didn't have her first kid until she was 25.
Yeah.
So,
Shit.
yeah.
No, I get it. And well, record too, like so I get this a lot, right? Being called millennial splaining. And before I was called millennial splaining, I was called dear old people. So that pissed even more people off. But I I wanted to claim the millennial identity. I wanted to reclaim it because I felt that every time anyone spoke about millennials, about our generation, it was, people who had studied us. It was people from the outside who were looking in, right? It wasn't us because we cannot, we didn't have the resources to the opportunity to get to that national microphone in the way that both the boomers and the Xers did. Because if you think of subcultures, you can think about, like the hippie subculture, the punk subculture, the disco subculture, all of those things came from the actual people doing it, right? But can you tell me what our subculture is? No, right? I mean, the closest thing I can think of is a hipster, and that image was assigned to us by people looking at us from the outside, right? So
That's interesting.
There is some culture. We have a culture. And what, I think, hopefully over the next 10 years, when we start coming into our own and hopefully having conversations in public more, we're going to hopefully identify a little bit more what those things are. But I mean, like, I would just grasp at stuff like apartment parties, drinking out of red plastic cups, hanging out in parking lots, slouchy hats, big glasses. I'm reaching for things because I don't, we don't have like we don't have it, right?
Yeah. I mean,
we're
even in the Black community, I mean, big baggy pants, big hoop earrings, different catchphrases. I mean,
right?
Yeah, we really don't have a home when it comes to those types of things. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. And it's I think there's a lot of factors behind that. I won't go too far into it. I know it's getting kind of late, but I think that we have been so worried about trying to survive and trying to get a foot in the door in the system of people who, in a system that is being controlled by people who are categorizing us as entitled lazy millennials, right? So we forever didn't want to associate with the term millennials. Like everybody I know, everybody with my age says, I don't want to be a millennial. I'm not that kind of millennial. I'm a good millennial, right? I don't want to be that kind of lazy millennial. But most of the people I know are extremely hardworking, and the lazy entitled millennial stereotype comes from a lot of capitalist, a lot of explainer fluff about the rationalizing the downturns.
No, the lazy millennials are a caricature that were given to us from the trust fund babies that we used to watch on reality TV when we were teenagers.
Also
that's who it is. Like the Paris Hiltons and the Nicole Richies and all that, they are the millennials that we used to watch, and the Kim Kardashians. Those are the millennials that actually people are looking at and thinking about when they say, oh, you guys are just lazy, you don't actually do work. And the thing is that we millennials had and still have a wonderful work ethic. It's just that we have been squeezed dry by this system to the point where we feel like we should be able to retire right now. Like, screw waiting until we're 65. Look, I'm 35. Look, I'm gonna emulate Afeni right now. Like, give me my retirement right now. Come on, give it to me. Money, money, money. I need it right now because y'all overworked me already. I've done 65 years worth of work in 30 years. Come on, give it to me. I'm sorry. I did 45 years worth of work in about 20 years. So give it to me. Don't, you know, stop holding back. Because the thing is that that's exactly what's going on right now. You know, I mean, who at the age of 30 is working 45, 50 hours a week? Like, who did that back in the 60s and 70s? Who did that?
Nobody.
Nobody.
One job. Because I remember even hearing stories from the 80s, right? Where people told me that they had one part-time job at a record store and that somehow paid their rent in their apartment, even if it was with 4 other dudes, right? What? So they could fucking have their garage bands and whatever the shit and go on tours and whatever the shit because they could get, you know, they had the time for that. Because the wages at that point had not differentiated so much from, you know, what you needed to live.
Yeah. And now we're sitting here saying we can't live. Stop eating your avocado toast.
Oh my God. I've never met anyone like, so I have one friend, possibly 2 friends that have ever eaten avocado toast in my presence. I don't think they did it on a regular basis, and I scorned them for doing so. Avocado fucking thing. Let me just reiterate that you put avocados on tortilla chips because tortilla chips are cheaper. That is why we eat avocados with tortilla chips, because it's cheaper than eating a full meal, right? That's why we don't we don't put avocado on toast unless you come back from Whole Foods and you do it because you're like biking later. You know what I'm saying? Like that is a privileged thing that was assigned to our generation. Exactly what you were saying before about the Kardashian shit. That is a privileged thing that was assigned to our generation. And that is not a reality. It's not
no. And people want to talk about, you know, you guys are so privileged, you guys are killing different industries, and it's like, you guys don't pay us enough. That's pretty much it. Like, I would love to be able to live in a situation where I can afford to own a home, have my boyfriend live with me. He doesn't have to work at all. I can adopt 2 kids, have a pet, and own my own vehicle, and still have enough money to go on vacation 2 times a year. I wish I had to go up a couple octaves with that one. I wish that I could do that, but I can't. Why? Because the capitalist said, oh, he's making too much and he has too much time on his hands, so we got to take that away.
Yeah, well, it was, again, and it was their justification for not, you know, doing anything to benefit the working class, right? So like when the recession hit, like companies had a choice. They said they could either, you know, cut their workers back or they could cut their own salaries. And what literally everybody did is they cut their workers back. And they kept their salaries and gave themselves bigger and bigger bonuses every year from the stimulus packages from the government. And, you know, that fucked our generation over hardcore because that whole level of stuff that, you know, we were either doing in an unpaid internship or we weren't able to do at all. That's a whole rung that, you know, we, you know, like Xers, for example, they went through a recession as well when they were younger. Okay. They understand a little bit what it's like, you know, and they will often, I feel like I'll get into arguments with them often where, you know, they'll say like, well, you know, we just had to bite the bullet and do something we didn't want to do. We just had to go and put on that suit and go sit behind a desk or whatever the shit. And it's like, well, that's cute. That I'm glad that you were able to do that. But that rung of employment was not available to us. Like I applied for several temp agencies, for example. Like a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people love to tell me, well, I had to survive on a temp job for a couple years and that's how I got blah, 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 blah. Well, that's cute. I couldn't get a temp job. I couldn't get one. I couldn't get, that was the good job. I was making
Yeah.
$7 an hour or $8 an hour in New York. And I wanted to get a job that paid me 10. I
Yeah.
would love that, right? So fun. Like that's, there were so many opportunities that people just didn't know had dried up on us.
Yeah.
Uh, they, and organizations like Forbes magazine and Business Insider and shit like that, they were trying to paper it over because what was really happening is that governments were pocketing a lot of stimulus money. They weren't using it to actually employ people. And actually, if you look back at some of the laws that came out like in 2015, they, and this was true for New Jersey when I looked into it. I don't know about other states, but they offered tax breaks to businesses with over 50 employees who either created or maintained so many jobs. So what that means is that if they created a job and kept it open, never actually filled it, they still got that tax break. And that's what happened a lot across the board. And I have so many, job applications sent into so many different that like the percentage at which I called back was so low that something had to be wrong. It's not fucking me. You know what I'm saying? Like I changed my resume every day. Like I did everything that I could. I talked to people in colleges and, just did everything I could to make myself appealing to the corporate world. And I could not get a foot in the door. And it was, I must have applied to like at least thousands of jobs because you would just go on those websites and go apply now, apply now, apply now, apply now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of jobs you would see month after month, you would still see the same job is fucking still open.
Yeah.
I applied for over a year consistently using like, I think I it was one of those major sites like career in something career builder, that was it. And I saw this one for a dealership, like a car dealership near me. It was like a phone assistant call, like a phone person, and that was the same thing was up for a year and a half. Literally the same job posting was up for a year and a half. Like that's not because they actually want to hire somebody. That's
Mm-hmm.
the ridiculous thing. So
No.
yeah, I mean, there are so many reasons. Oh, so if you wouldn't mind, I want to go back to the boomer thing for a second because my parents were also boomers and I loved them so much. I feel like a lot of millennials have a special connection with the boomer generation. Like, I feel that, growing up, we all really appreciated the hippie movement. We all really like looked up to that history as like a part of our legacy. Like we all really, were grateful for the changes that we were taught about, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even though we came into a world where we realized that all of these changes hadn't taken place in the way that we thought they had, or some of us found out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, we still don't hate boomers. I don't really know a millennial that would say like, oh, fuck all boomers, fuck boomers, even if okay boomer is a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I think like the way I like to explain okay boomer is that you know we we have ideas and
Yeah.
we have heard yours, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like boomers love to boomer splain to us. Fucking
Boomer
explain.
splain. Boomer splain.
Boomers love to boomer explain to us, and they love to give us the same history that they gave us back when we were in middle school. And like, I love you for that, but we've heard it, and you need to understand that you raised us to speak back to you. You raised us, like we were saying before, to have our own opinion and to argue with you. And so you need to expect that now we are adults and now we are inheriting this world that we should have a fucking say in it. And
Yeah.
that, when when it comes to a conversation with a boomer and they start going into like a speech that you can tell that they've done like several times before, you say, okay, boomer, because you've heard it before. And it's not, I'm not saying fuck you. I'm not saying you're irrelevant. I'm saying please stop, because I already know what you're saying. And here's how I want to build on what you're saying. Please listen to me.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's where I feel okay boomer comes from. And I don't feel any hatred towards boomers. I don't feel any hatred. I feel that, that we have to, really band together, as a class. I mean, that's the only way we're gonna get anywhere on this, I think, is that we have to band together as a class, and fight back. But yeah, but what do you?
Yeah, I mean, we do have a special place for boomers in our hearts. It's just they need to recognize that we are in a different circumstance than they ever were. And because we're in a different circumstance, that they need to know that we will never have the same opportunity that they will. And to downplay us for complaining about it just means that you're out of touch and you don't know what it's like to be one of us in the same circumstances. A lot of you went to school and you guys didn't have to spend much on college education. Now we can't even get a job without having a degree. But then, we get to a point where we try to get a job with it, and there's so many people that have degrees that they don't pay us enough for it. A lot of you boomers who got a master's degree back in the 70s, and you guys were making a really great wage compared to your contemporaries who didn't go to college in the 70s. You guys were making in ratio a larger amount of money than even we were. But now look at us. We're basically doing the exact same thing as you did, and we're not making nowhere near as much. And the next thing you know, we get called lazy and entitled because we're trying to do what you did and we're trying to make what you made. But now we have to work 10 times as hard and we get 10 times as less for that hard work, and it's not fair.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that we are like the first, I think I have a meme about this somewhere. We are the first generation to reach 30 and still be considered young people. And that's partially because our average marriage age is 29, whereas theirs was a lot lower. I can't remember.
Yeah, like 21, 22. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And marriage is a huge indicator of adulthood, as well as having so, there's, and also being able to live independently, right? Which a lot of us can't do. So these are all things that, make us seem infantile to other generations who have had the privilege of being able to do those things. But, in reality, it's the situation that's shifting around us, and it's not about our personality, our collective personality at all.
Yeah, of course. And there's been times where I felt like I was actually the youngest person in the room, even though the people who was around were older or the same age as me or younger. And you get to a point where you are constantly being viewed as much younger. But like, for instance, we want to get married. Hell, we're not even having kids at the same rate, which means we're not getting busy as much as y'all did, because we can't afford to. Let's be real. Like I would love to be able to have enough money to take a guy out to like a nice Italian restaurant. We go see a movie or a show, and then we can take a ride right around the park. I can, drop them off in my car and stand at the door and give them a kiss on the cheek and say goodnight. I wish we can do that, but we can't because we just can't afford to do it. And next thing you know, you get boomers saying, well, we want more grandkids. Well, pay us more money and we'll have more grandkids.
Seriously? Yeah, 300%.
Yeah. 300%.
I want to get married to my girlfriend, but we don't have the money.
Yeah. I want to get married to my boyfriend and we don't have the money.
Yeah.
We just don't have it.
Yeah. And you're 37, 35. I mean,
yeah.
The idea that we wouldn't be able to survive at this age, it would have been unheard of in previous generations. Yeah. Or like, people would assume they're lazy and shit. So
yeah. And here's the funny part. For a lot of us, and I'm not trying to make this as an excuse, but a lot of us are also looking at things like polyamory because we're like, well, if there's 3 of us or 4 of us, then we could actually afford it even better now. But then boomers are like, oh my God, you guys shouldn't be with more than one person. And we're like, hey, we can't afford it. Yeah. And I love these too. So what do you want me to do? I can't afford it.
That is the best description.
We know we can't afford it. It's crazy. And then next thing you know, we change the parameters of acceptable relationships, and suddenly we can afford it. Because I can say this because I actually sold to a polyamorous throuple when I was in sales. Nice. And I sold them a king size bed.
Wow.
Yeah. And I treated them just like I treated any other couple. I didn't make it a big thing. And I was just like, and
they must have been skinny.
They all put all 3.
I love you.
Yeah. Because that shit would have been an Alaskan king. It would have been some dudes like me. You know what I'm saying?
Those 2 kings together for me, I think.
Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. But I told them, I was like, so how are we going to do the financing for this? And he goes, oh, just put all 3 of our incomes together. So I literally put all 3 of their incomes together and boom, got approved. Wow. Because if I had put 2 of them together, they wouldn't have gotten approved for much, or they wouldn't have gotten approved at all for financing. Mm-hmm. And so, and they were younger than me. So they knew what was up.
Right.
And so, I mean, look at it now. It's just like, you know what? We can't afford anything. And so, like, hell, look at the rings that they sell us online. They're made of silicone.
Yeah.
We get silicone rings. Or they say, oh, just put a tattoo around your ring finger. Because we can't afford gold. We can't afford silver. Yeah. We can't afford platinum. We can't afford it.
Yep.
And so people are like, well, you guys aren't getting married because we can't afford it. Either that or we are taking our asses to the courthouse and we are taking a cheap ass wedding.
Right.
And then we'll do the reception later.
Yeah. 10 years from now when we can afford it, maybe.
10 years from now when the kid is like close to 15 years old. You be the ring bearer. Like, when I'm 15, I don't care if you're 15. You're gonna be the ring bearer.
Put on this dress.
we are a little late, but better late than never. All right. Now hold the ring. Wait, this ring, it kind of bends a little bit. It's made of silicone. Because we can't, and this is the thing. It's funny to laugh at, but people talk about.
So me and my girlfriend cannot afford an actual engagement ring. This is a $10 ring set that I got on Amazon, and I've worn it for 2-3 years now, and it's look pretty good. I mean, like the silver is coming up, like the copper shit underneath, but yeah, yeah, she's got a matching one. I got this. This is like a two-piece, it's a two-piece set, right? And then she's got a matching one too, and I got them all together for $10. So I don't know what the shit this is. I mean, it's not even cubic zirconia. I don't know what it is, but but that's the only engagement ring we can afford.
Yeah. I mean, we got to buy it on Amazon, or, for some of us, you were rich. You got yours off of Amazon. I might have to get mine off of Wish.
Oh, we love Wish. Don't even fret it. We love Wish.
gotta wait 8 weeks for it to come in the mail from Shanghai.
Got to go pick it up from Fiesta Time because it was half the half the shipping cost. Yeah.
And they're talking about, oh, you guys don't go to shows or anything like that. It's like, yeah. y'all better start doing them discount shows like they did back in the day. Spend $25 and you get to see 5 different people. All right, y'all want us to come? Okay, I want us to spend no more than $50, and I want to be able to go see Brandy, Monica, Mariah Carey, Belle Biv DeVoe.
This would be a
Bobby Brown
concert to end all divas concerts.
and what's their name? Shit. And Kurt Cobain's band. I forgot the name of their band. But yeah, Nirvana. It's like, I want to be able to see all 5 for $50. If y'all can't let me see all 5 for $50, then we ain't going. Then we'll catch your show on YouTube.
Yeah. That's what I do with my friends. When they come over and we hang out, we get drunk or fucked up, whatever, and watch YouTube videos of performances that we can't afford to go to. Yeah. That's exactly what we do.
Yeah. And then we can't even afford a coffee table, so we don't have to clear out anything in the middle of the floor. So we just dance, right. Because our furniture didn't even come from an actual furniture store. It came from a thrift store. And then we actually bought Mr. Rug Doctor so that we can clean it ourselves as soon as we got it home.
Nice.
Yeah. And then next thing you know, we're dancing and we're watching it on our TV that we got, from a Rose's or a Family Dollar that was on sale at Black Friday. And so we got that, and next thing you know, we're dancing and chilling, and we're smoking, out of that $20 bong that we got from that little store. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have much of anything else. And you look inside of a millennial's apartment, it's pretty much practically empty because we really can't afford anything else. So. And the thing is that people are like, oh my God, you guys are complaining. Well, there's a lot to complain about.
We haven't even started, honey.
Yeah. Darling, we haven't even started yet. Oh my goodness.
Can we do like a monthly column where it's just like bitching with JB and B?
It could happen. You see, this is one thing I love about having a longer mustache, because now I can actually twirl it.
Ooh, loving it.
Why? Because I can't afford to get myself a haircut right now because they raised the prices to get the haircut.
Oh, son of a bitch. How much is it now?
It's like almost $20 just for me to get a haircut. By the way, before the pandemic, it was $12.
Yeah.
$12.
Off. $20.
And then even that was expensive because there are other places that were doing it for $10.
Wow.
And now it's $20 for a haircut.
That's fucked, man. That's totally fucked.
Yeah.
I cut my own. I gave up on that a while ago.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I just can't do it. I can't be my own guinea pig, number one. And number two, I need my hair to be on point. If I'm going to have somebody do it, I need a professional.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it myself. You know what I mean? It's not like I can just say, oh my God, I'm going to cut my bangs, you know, and then if it's wrong, then you could just, you know, kind of hide it. Like if I cut this down and I get a bald spot, it's going to show.
Yeah. I was just gonna say
Mm.
hair, especially long hair, is easier because I can literally go like, this is how I cut my hair. I literally just like that.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Oh,
I can't.
sorry, Donna.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, like before COVID, I would have been paying at least $45, $55 for that, just for the trim. And now I don't even know what it is now. I haven't checked, but I'm sure
Oh,
it's, yeah,
yeah.
that's just entirely insane. I mean,
Yeah.
your hair should be that fucking expensive.
Yeah.
This shit was $6 on Amazon. So
Mhm. Hey, as long as it looks good, I don't care.
I hope it still looks good.
Yeah. I mean, we can't even decorate our rooms good enough. So now we just have to buy special color lights to put on, you know, in our rooms just to actually add some ambiance to it because we can't afford the knickknacks like we really want to. You can't even go to Family Dollar and get all the knickknacks that you want, you know?
No, you
So
can't. The paint is so fucking expensive. And if you paint, you have to repaint when you move out, no matter if you're renting or in your parents' house or wherever you are. It's reality everywhere. So I
yeah.
don't paint anymore. I did in my first apartment because I thought it was cute at the time, but it was a lot of fucking work and expensive.
Yeah,
So
just give me one of those Philips lights and then just call it a day.
yeah. Or tapestries, fabric tapestries. That's what I do, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, this was a good conversation about being a millennial because being a millennial is hard work.
It is, man. It is. It is. You know, we have a lot to fight for. We have a lot to fight for, and we have a lot of reason to be angry. So, you know, I hope that I can, you know, we can grow the indie movement together, the indie media movement together, and like, you know, really try to amplify, you know, millennial and Gen Z voices, because you're not gonna see that shit on corporate media. You're not going to see that shit even on, you know, like media that has turned corporate, like Young Turks and whatever, you know, stuff that was on YouTube that, you know, is now, you know, fucking shit lib or whatever. So, you know, I really hope that, you know, we all sort of band together and try to uplift our own voices, because no one else is going to do it for us. And it's really hard for us to believe that, because we really believed in the system. We really believed it. We just worked hard enough. We could just make it to some point where we would get discovered or get that job or, you know, make that fucking living that we always wanted, you know, but it's not going to happen. I'm here to tell you, it's not going to fucking happen. We have to do it for ourselves.
Yeah,
And
we have to save ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Just, you know, and don't believe the lies.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, if you like to work with your hands and if you can go to a, you know, vocational school, do it.
Yeah.
If you are in a job and they're not paying you a living wage, unionize. And if they fire you, sue, you know, try to sue them or whatever, but try to unionize. And then when you go to the next job, try to unionize there. Next job, unionize again. Never stop. Never stop. Because we got to build this thing back up so that we can actually save ourselves, because it's just it's bad.
Yeah. And if you can, save money so that you can build your own businesses with it.
Yeah. And
Don't
build a co-op.
Build a co-op. Build our own businesses.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. And support so we could do that, fucking boomers and extras that are watching right now. God damn it.
Yeah. Help us get monetized and send us some super chats. God damn it.
God damn it.
God damn it. We pour out here.
So why don't before you go, why don't you tell us where we can find you and donate to you and all that stuff?
Right here on Millennial Split. I almost said mansplaining. What in the hell? JB, come on, man.
Get off my show.
Dang it. Sorry, bye. so sorry. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Yes, please forgive me.
Oh my God. I really wish that we were in the same spot right now. I would totally do it better.
Just like they did in The Color Purple.
You can do that shit on the wall, right?
It doesn't help that you have a purple background, so I'm thinking about The Color Purple right now.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Lord, child. People are gonna be like, who in the hell is this guy on your show?
Oh, not at all.
Why do you have him?
Would you? No, you're fabulous
Like,
stuff.
You'll be like, child, I was high the whole time. I don't know.
Listen, there is not a moment in my day where I'm not high. If you've ever met me, I've been high. That is how I live my life. It is medicinal for me. I have PTSD. If I don't have weed, I have panic attacks. Bad ones.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. That's just the reality of my situation. So, but I'm
Well,
bummed. I guess I shouldn't admit that shit on camera if I have to pass a piss test in the future, but let's hope that doesn't arise. Oh man.
Yeah, we millennials are also very entertaining.
I think we know how to laugh through the pain a little bit. So
you have to, though. Yeah, because the thing is you have to laugh to keep yourself from crying. Because we know what it's like to struggle. And the fact that we have experienced two recessions and a depression in our lifetimes, and a pandemic. God, we got to be some tough people, man.
Right? The fight was when the pandemic hit, we were like, oh great, what next? Right? Because we were already fucked over from before.
Yeah, like we're oh great. Oh, look at this. I'm so scared. Oh, pandemic that's gonna kill the rest of us off. Oh, the pain. Right? Like, what's next? Oh, so we got a whole brand new president. And now this president doesn't want to give us anything. Oh, and he said, I have no sympathy for millennials. Wow, ain't that just a fine kettle of fish? So I guess we die.
Who the fuck do you think is wiping his ass right now? That man has dementia. Okay. I live with my grandfather. I watched him get and then die from eventually many health problems, but dementia, right? I know what it fucking looks like. And that man has it, okay? He can't fucking string a sentence together anymore. It's just not happening. You're not going to fucking tell me that he doesn't have to wear adult diapers sometimes. You're not going to fucking tell me that there isn't somebody who's got to like mash up his meat sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit happens. Somebody's going to have to take care of his dentures when he goes traveling. You know what I'm saying? And who's going to do that? Millennial. Jill? Oh. She's fucking the same age as she is. Nah.
I guess.
Probably does some of it. She probably does some of it. But they have AIDS, right? They got AIDS all around them, and I'm sure they're all millennials.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So.
Or Gen Z.
Yeah. Being paid shit wages.
Yeah, I'm sure. Because he's got no sympathy.
Yeah, no sympathy. That's why we got to be different. We have to have that sympathy. We have to have that empathy, and we have to have that compassion. Yeah, because they won't give it to us, so we got to have it.
That's right. We got to supply it for ourselves.
Yeah, you guys can follow me at JB Faunt at JAYBEFAUNT on Twitter, and you can follow us at the Fred Hampton Leftist on YouTube and Rockfin.
Awesome, and definitely donate their Ko-fi.
Thank you.
/ Fred Hampton Left, I believe. Yeah.
And donate the best's Ko-fi as well, and her Patreon if she has one.
Thank you. I'm ditching the Patreon for a Ko-fi, so hopefully by the time I'll have a Ko-fi. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, mutual support. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
This was great, man. This is such a great conversation. Thank you so much.
It was a great conversation. I actually really enjoyed it. And the thing is, I love that we can actually mix humor and with policy
Yes.
and culture. I think that's the best way to do it, because the thing
Yeah.
is that we don't want to be boring. I'm not trying to be these this oh, what should we call it, this impact type of stuff that you see at like 5 a.m. in the morning on access television, and you're talking about it and there's really nothing to laugh at, and you just see these people like they were just like born out of boredom, and they're just like,
Mhm.
yeah, we have to talk about, this different policy and blah blah blah, and next thing you know is something that you just leave on in the background while you're trying to fall asleep. Like, no, you're staying up with us, motherfuckers. I don't give a damn. Okay, you're gonna listen to us because we have some shit to say.
Fucking A. Fucking A. Absolutely. Absolutely. Can't get hurt any other way. Oh, I like that. I hope the camera got that. Do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait.
What happened?
Look back to you. Okay. Do the thing.
Hmm?
No.
Oh, yeah. Like I'm Indiana Jones up in here,
I loved it.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
anyway, we'll definitely have to do this again soon and talk even more about this stuff, because I feel like we just scratched the surface on a lot of shit. So
definitely. Yeah.
yeah. But always with humor and love. Let's move
Mhm.
forward.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bess.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right,
Great.
you're welcome.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna stop recording.